And we are back on the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Aiden, once again behind the scenes for today's live show. Little Victory Tuesday action for the Cowboys coming out of their Monday Night Football win over the Las Vegas Raiders. No surprise, it's pretty much all good news that we'll discuss on today's show. I want you guys to grade the Cowboys' win over the Raiders. A, B, C, D, or F. Right now, 71% voting A, 25% voting B, 2% voting C, 1%, I assume the Eagles fans that watch, voting D or F. The Raiders are not a very good football team. We are allowed to acknowledge that and point out that they're not very good. But you needed the win. You got the win. I think that is what's most important there. So grade the Cowboys against the Raiders, A, B, C, D, or F. Some super chats coming in. First up from William Cook. Solid win last night. Williams is the real deal. I think this team has a chance against the Eagles. So, yeah, first off, yes, spot on. I thought Quinnen was awesome in that game. I thought everything you wanted and more in the first half alone. And then, Osa kind of took over the second half. It was a really strong performance. His most quarterback hits ever, by the way. And a half. He did it in a half. It was insane. Also probably shows, how bad the Raiders are. That. Allegedly, they tried to put Caleb Rogers at guard at practice, and it was so bad they were like, "No, we can't do this." They were like, "This is not. We can't do this." So they pivoted. It was crazy. I do think they have a chance against Philadelphia. We'll do our preview, not today, later in the week. Both of them, 3.5-point favorite is the spread in favor of Philadelphia for that game. The Eagles have played some ugly games, but they win all of these ugly games. At some point, that probably catches up to them. I do think there's a gap between where the Cowboys sit and where the other top NFC teams are. But this is a chance to show that this new look defense is for real. And it wasn't like the Jets game where you just beat up on a bad team. The great Duke Bothers is still no Jaden Blue. Yep, he was a scratch. Once again, healthy scratch this past week. I believe by activating Malik Davis to the roster, then sending him back down, it actually does reset his timer of the 3 there. I don't know if we're going to see that much more Jaden Blue this year, frankly. It is a little bit awkward. There's clearly frustration. The fumbling was a huge issue. They went out of their way to call up Malik Davis again. I don't know when we're going to see Jaden Blue again. Hopefully he does get back out there, but we'll see. Who gets the game ball against the Raiders? Let me know in the comments section right now. Who gets the game ball against the Raiders? Let me know in the comments. Basically, who impressed you? Who impressed you on that front? Let's get some shout-outs here as these come in. Mike Nintendo Masters there. GP from George Pickens. That's a good answer, Cowboy Rob. He was awesome. He cooked. The Raiders had zero answer for him. Quinnen, good answer as well, a.k.a. Cam. The Pickens in there from Isaiah Silva. The great Duke Bothers says Dak. Yeah, it felt like one of the few games this year where, the Cowboys got a good game from Dak, but they didn't actually have to have the best game from Dak Prescott because everything else was really good. I think it's telling, Dak Prescott was, 25 of 33, and 2 of those were drops. Just humming along, easy peasy, 4 touchdowns, -4 yards because of kneel downs. It was a good showing there. Dak again. Mike, I wish I was higher in the rankings. That's what I wish. All right, producer Aiden, what you got for my friend?
Yeah, me personally, it might be the easy answer, the easy way out, but I'm going to take Quinnen Williams to give him the game ball. It's obviously the new addition. It's got the Martian death beam, as they might say. The magnifying glass is on him, and everybody's paying attention. But he showed out in a huge way. Did you say he had the most quarterback hits?
In his career.
In his career in a half.
In a half.
That's unreal, man. I feel like, and it might just be talking, but I feel like there's a different fire lit underneath him as well for at least feeling like he's got a chance every week to win a game. On the Jets, you don't have a quarterback. You don't have anything. The organizational issues are terrible. And it's its own story with the Cowboys as well. But, you at least have someone to lead the helm, which is Dak. And it's as you said, normally he has to play perfect. Last night he didn't have to. He still damn near did, and they won convincingly. So that's the recipe.
QBR was 86.7 in that game, which is really good. Geno was 19.9, just to put it in perspective. What happens if you take a bunch of sacks and you don't do anything on third downs? Like, it's going to be low. Pickens, everyone's basically saying Pickens and Quinnen, which I think like offense, defense is certainly pretty valuable there. Toxic Tom, T-A-W-M, says we've not had a D2 this caliber since we invaded Iraq. Now, wait, when was David Irving, though? Because David Irving was a great football player. He just did not care. He did not care. And that was what was so darn frustrating with the entire thing. RJ retracted that super chat, so you don't have to go to it, by the way. So, Gurich Brothers, you get a TD. You get a TD. Everyone gets a TD. Yeah, I was one of those days where just like everything was going right. That's how it goes. So, what is your trust level now in the Cowboys front office as we move forward into, we'll talk some more George Pickens stuff. I am not surprised, but like kind of peeved that every time that George Pickens has a good game, the national media coverage is, oh, but what are you going to do with both of them? I don't know, keep them? Like the Eagles did? Like the Bengals did? Like the Dolphins? Like all these teams have done? Like it's actually not that hard. Someone's national media is eventually going to say, when was the last time a team won with a high-paid quarterback and two highly paid wide receivers? And the answer was last year. Literally last year. Like someone's going to say it, and we all know it's going to happen. But give me your trust level in the Cowboys front office, 1 to 10 in the comments section of today's show. This is the Super Chat menu. Any super is a shout-out. A $5 Super Chat gets you into our raffle. I don't know what we're going to do against the Eagles. I haven't really thought at all about it yet, so I'll work on that Wednesday, Thursday as I get ready for the week, but a bit more focused on this stuff instead. $10 gets you 3 raffle entries, $50 for a shot, and $100 for a beer bong. I am leaving it on there after last night. Maybe a bad idea, but we're still going to do it there. If you are excited to, as we'll kind of recap the Raiders game some more today and then move very much into the Eagles week. It's hate week. You know, no one likes the Eagles or their fans. I like a couple Eagles fans that I know personally, but like the average one on Twitter is just like the worst. So are you excited for Eagles week? Like the video if you are. Free, simple, and easy to do on today's show. Coming up, by the way, we'll do kind of 2 different batches of Cowboys news with a mailbag in between them. We'll discuss a lot of good stuff that has come out of the Cowboys versus Eagles or Cowboys-Raiders matchup, things that went really well for them. Eventually, I'll discuss some elements later this week of like, this kind of needs some work. Like, for example, Kevontae Turpin, can you just catch the ball normally, like one time? Like, stop jumping for everything. You don't need to. That's a lack of confidence in your hands, by the way. That's all coming up here live on the Cowboys Report. Make sure you've liked the video as well. Bunch of news and a mailbag, so you can get your questions in, by the way, via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether with a super chat. The Dallas Cowboys got quite a bit of good news coming out of their Monday Night Football win over the Las Vegas Raiders. We're going to break down a lot of it for you on today's show. We'll also go more in depth on it tomorrow as well, since there's just a lot we wanted to discuss on these Cowboys Report videos. Before we dive into that, again, I still don't quite figure out like if we get a push on this video when we have a late night game and then a live show on Monday as well. I don't think we're going to. Sometimes it surprises me and it gives us one anyway. But either way, help us out by sharing today's video on social media. Free, simple, easy to do. Really helps us continue to grow here. We've been very strong numbers here, which I really appreciate, guys. But keep it going by sharing today's show. Let's get into some good news. So let's begin with the one we had been most excited about for the longest, since the Quinnen stuff, which we'll discuss, was a bit more of a news surprise at the trade deadline. DeMarvion Overshown made his much-anticipated debut after last year's horrific knee injury. And overall, I thought he was pretty solid. 31 snaps in total. Only had the 1 tackle, the 1 TFL. Fit his very few run fits right. Wasn't that bad in coverage either. The coverage stats per PFF. 3 targets, 3 catches, 18 yards, 2 first downs, didn't break up any passes. The one big chunk play was I think it was one of the mesh routes to Jack Besh where he was kind of dinged for it, but that's a little bit more complicated as well. I thought it was a very, very strong showing out of DeMarvion Overshown, especially like for where he was. I don't think there was anything crazy about this particular Overshown debut. I don't think he was crazy strong or like had the greatest game ever or like even has been as good as we've seen in the past, but he didn't look slow out there to me. Looked like he was pretty healthy. It was great to get him back because after all the stuff he had gone through, to get him back out there in this game was a huge boost for the Cowboys. And I am excited to see, I think the snap count minimum was 31. That should only go up as the weeks go on. I think he'll be even more important against the Eagles coming up this week. Now, if you're excited to have DeMarvion Overshown back, show Agent Zero some love by typing in 0. Put the comment section for me right now. I don't know if anyone was more impressive in their debut, though, than the defensive tackle, Quinnen Williams. That was the best version of Quinnen Williams, the guy that the Cowboys coveted so much from the Jets. He was borderline unblockable. With most of this damage coming in the first half, by the way. 4 tackles, 1 TFL, a sack and a half, 5 different quarterback hits, which is the most he's had in his career. 7 pressures, by the way, was a 24.1% pressure rate. If you're even like at 15, that is an elite level. So to be at 24, almost essentially every 4th play you're getting a pressure is ridiculous. That doesn't happen very often in the NFL. The pass rush win rate was even higher because you don't always win and get a pressure if the ball's out quickly. I thought Williams was awesome. I do think the Raiders' decision to not even really try to run the ball was a factor in the Quinnen Williams addition. They were like, we don't want to test that. We'll try to pick on the secondary instead. The Cowboys' run game against the Raiders for running backs, 8 carries between Ashton Genty and Raheem Mostert, 13 yards. They were a complete non-factor. And when we do our previews, you'll see how much they rose up the rankings from that one game. Jerry Jones on 105 through the Fan on Quinnen said, I was zeroed in on him early, and I wanted to see how the Raiders' offensive line was handling him. It kind of caused you to sit back in your seat and smile a little bit. He was so dominant. I'm telling you, if you can get those kinds of plays and people have to adjust their blocking schemes for him, then you obviously get some advantages in other parts of your defense. We just haven't had pressure like that, pass pressure. He means from the middle more than anything else. But overall, pressure numbers were fantastic again against the admittedly bad Raiders offensive line. Jerry Jones was right on all of that. I think one player in particular very much benefited and capitalized on the more favorable advantages that he had. We'll go more in depth on that in a second, but today's show is made possible by Ethos. As a father of 2 kids, it's not fun to think about what would happen if something happened to you, but you do need to be prepared. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos is an online platform that makes life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. No medical exam is required. You just answer a few health questions and get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage for them. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. I thought we had yet another good game out of Osa Odighizuwa, who very much benefited from Quinnen Williams getting so much attention, but also took advantage of his own reps even when Quinnen wasn't out there. I thought Osa's had his 2 best games of the year in back-to-back efforts. Only the 1 tackle, which was a TFL and a sack, all in one, because that's how NFL tends to track stats. Also had 3 quarterback hits and 8 pressures in this game. He has been really impactful the last 2 weeks, generating pressure. I do think he benefits from some of those 5-man fronts as well. In fact, if you want to value PFF at all, because of the extra pressure, essentially, Osa actually had the higher graded game ever so slightly over Quinnen Williams. Kenny Clark was also very good in that performance, 74.3. Look, the Raiders' offensive line is bad. I know that. But the big three defensive linemen, led by Quinnen and Osa, had very strong performances, and it's what I was hoping to see. Now, of course, you got to go do it again against the Eagles. And I'm planning this week to go a bit more in-depth on some of the whys and hows of what the defensive changes are able to, that they've shown so far, have been unlocked by the presence of Quinnen Williams. We will have that video for you here on the channel, assuming there's not a bunch of news that happens and makes me not do it. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. Let's go to the other side of the trenches. Tyler Guyton. A couple times this year, I've gone, maybe he wasn't as good on the rewatch. This was like the first time this year I'm like, okay, he actually was as good as I thought he was. Didn't allow a pressure against the Raiders. Had one of his better PFF run blocking grades, if you value that, 76.0. I would argue that was probably the best game over the course of the season, and even last year, that we have seen from Tyler Guyton. Now, again, he didn't get that much Max Crosby. He got a couple reps against Crosby. He mostly went up against Terence Steele, who, relative to expectations was fine. But I thought the reps that Guyton did get against Crosby, he held his own. It was actually his highest graded PFF game ever from an overall grade, if you want to value PFF. And in more good news, that is his top 2 PFF graded games of all time in the last 3 games. So he's on an upward trend. In fact, 5 of his highest 7 graded games over the course of his career have come in the last 7 games. There's still work to do. He has not had the dominant, wow, that's the best offensive lineman on the field game. That has not happened yet, I don't think. There's still work to do, but the growth arc, I think, is here. We're seeing a better version over the course of a season, even if it's not necessarily every single game is better than the last. The overall arrow is pointing upwards. So grade Tyler Guyton against the Raiders. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. A couple more offensive mentions I want to get here. Ryan Flournoy only had the 1 catch for a touchdown, but I think he pretty clearly continues to stake his claim. He's the real wide receiver 3 for the Cowboys. He has surpassed Jalen Tolbert and, frankly, has also surpassed KaVontae Turpin. Very nice route in the end zone, little whip route to get open for the score. Easy pickings there. The snap counts, by the way, even with the benching from the opening drive for CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Lamb and Pickens obviously playing the vast majority of this team's snaps. Flournoy is third at wide receiver, even though they did do some more heavy personnel packages stuff with extra tight ends and even some fullback, which we'll discuss here in a minute. KaVontae Turpin. This is one of the negative sides that we'll eventually discuss. Dude, stop jumping for every catch. You have to stop it. It leads to so many drops. And Turpin is explosive and fun. Flournoy's pretty fast too, though. Turpin's the gadget receiver, and Flournoy's the wide receiver 3. Tolbert's your wide receiver 4, with, again, Turpin the gadget guy. And Jonathan Mingo can't get on the field, and I don't know how he's ever going to, frankly. Now, not who was the best, but in a positive sense, who surprised you the most against the Raiders? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. One more note on a positive side. Hunter Luepke had one of the more, I think actually his most impactful game of the season. Only played 16 snaps, the majority of them, all but 1 actually, coming at fullback and then flexed in line 1 time. 1 carry, 5 yards, 3 catches, 36 yards, which actually outpaced everybody not named Pickens and Lamb from a receiving perspective, which is kind of crazy. 3 of those 4 touches, by the way, went for first downs. This is what I think you want to get out of Luepke. Not super elite play, but good reliability and some impact and critical moments converting when he does get the ball. It's mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. 2 ways to get in on the show. Number 1 is to use #Cowboys. Or you can skip the line altogether via Super Chat. If you do not use the #Cowboys, simply put, producer Aiden cannot find your question. It ends up getting lost to the ether of the other 2,000 comments that come in over the course of a live show. So get them in via #Cowboys, or you can skip that line altogether with a super chat. I think a couple of the super chats that came in earlier probably still work for the mailbag cut if you want to go to it. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think definitely the Jaden Blue one for sure is a very good one. So get your questions in right now. Hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line all together via Super Chat. We'll get to RJ McCowan's Super Chat as well as part of that. That one came in a little bit ago. So I think really all three of those are perfectly good Super Chats to hit on today. So let me get RJ into the raffle right now before I have to do it during the mailbag like I normally am doing and typing while talking, and it makes me look a little bit silly. So several hashtag Cowboys already coming in, several Super Chats coming in as well. You all set then, Aiden? Let's dive into it. Mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. A super thanks, CJ, asking how are you today, Tom? Thank you. This probably in light. We're filming this on our Monday live show, like we normally, or sorry, Tuesday live show because the Cowboys played on Monday Night Football. I feel fine this morning. I will be very tired tomorrow because it's always like the day after a long night ends up hitting me. So check in again on Wednesday, and you can watch the videos on Wednesday and see how tired I look. Now remember, every $5 super thanks gets you into our weekly raffles. To be determined what this raffle will end up being. Send in a $5 super thanks, though, if you want in to that raffle. Another $5 super thanks from William Cook says, I appreciated the draft video. Thank you, William. I know it's early, but having 2 first-rounders opens up a lot of options. I think more draft capital is necessary. It depends on how the board falls, but having those 2 first-round picks does allow you to trade down once or even twice. I am intrigued by the idea, if you can pull it off, of doing what the Rams did. Now, again, it requires a lot of different ifs and buts and hoops to jump through, but the Rams traded down in last year's draft and got an additional first-round pick next year. Maybe you don't want to get the additional first next year, but that Falcons pick the Rams have might be top 10, which looks like an absolute steal for the Rams. It does open up a wide variety of options. You want to recoup some of those day 2 picks? You can trade down. You've got options. Completely agree there, William. CJ Baxter burner account. We can beat Philly next week. Offense looked great, but I think Shoddy is still too conservative at times. We don't have that bread and butter 20 to 25-yard passing concept. Glad Shoddy fed the hot hand, though, in Pickens. Dak's numbers at home against Philly, 6-1 over 300 yards per game, 71%, 12-5 TD to interception ratio. Also, awesome in post-game with Osa carrying off the jersey. Prayers for number 94. Agree with all of that. Not that many teams have a true like bread and butter 20, 25-yard pass play. Some of the Cowboys' go-tos are the seam shot to Ferguson, which actually hit to Lamb in the game, which just right down the middle, and defense messed up. They will hit that backside did, but that's normally more like 15-ish yards downfield. They do like that throw quite a bit, mostly to Lamb, but to Pickens sometimes too. Tough match against Philadelphia. Not easy, but they're going to have to prove they're serious, they're going to have to win that game. DeMarvion the Martian. Are playoff hopes alive still? Like, realistically? Realistically, kind of, but they're very much on life support. You are at the bottom of the in the hunt graphic. Now, I will say that the NY Times playoff sim does a nice job of, like, reflecting based on, like, the odds and everything. So the line had moved a little bit more or less in favor of the Eagles. It's down to 3.5 going into this week's game. So it's actually up to 10% chance. So I'm saying there's a chance. Now, if you lose against Philadelphia, you're down to about 4%, and that means you have to win out. You really can't afford any more losses. You beat the Eagles, you're hovering up there about 17% chance. So you kind of have to win this game to keep yourself alive. The biggest issue is you're going to lose tiebreakers. Well, actually, you're not going to lose tiebreakers because of the tie itself, but you're kind of playing that half game down because you lost to Carolina and because you lost to the Chicago Bears. So I gave you the 10% number from the NY Times playoff sim. What is the percent chance the Cowboys actually make the playoffs? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. From Roy Williams, is it possible to keep all 3 of Kenny Clark, Osa, and Quinnen Williams on the roster next year? It's an expensive room. It is an expensive room. I would question if the Cowboys want to do that. If they do, they're probably like actually looking into a extension for Quinnen and or Kenny Clark. They can if they want to. I would be a little bit surprised if they just rolled it out there with the $60 million over those 3 players. It's a lot of money for a defensive tackle. But It is possible if they want to. I will question if they're going to think that's the best plan of attack. But let's see how the rest of the year plays out. Because if they're all playing elite football, like, you just keep them and try to figure it out. William Cook, $5. A solid win last night. Quinnen is the real deal. I think this team has a chance against the Eagles. Chance, yes. I don't know how doable it's going to be, but they have a chance. It's not going to be easy. This is an Eagles team that you should have beaten week 1. You got a chance to do it this time around. All the Eagles do is kind of win ugly games. I won't be surprised if they win yet another ugly one. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. Weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. Keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen pass yards and rush yards and touchdowns? You can do it. Heck, maybe you want to go Drake May more than passing yards, rush yards, touchdowns against historically one of the worst defenses in football. That is one of our power play lineups here. Drake May more than passing yards. The Bengals defense is terrible. Caelen Williams more than rushing yards because he is a creator extraordinaire. And Rashee Rice more than a half touchdown against the Colts. You can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a partner, someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. The great Duke Bothers, still no Jaden Blue. Yep, was once again a healthy scratch. Clearly some frustration there with the coaching staff and Blue. We'll see how that gets fixed. He's a very young player, which maybe there's some immaturity issues there. The fumbling was obviously one of them. There was the reports of the frustration. Dane Brugler then came out later and said he had the biggest red flags in the draft, which kind of wish he would have put out there earlier. He's not trying to kill the kid. I get it. So we'll see about Jaden Blue. Thankfully, Javante's been awesome. Otherwise, this would have been a much, much bigger problem. Not one we can just kind of right away. RJ McCowan. We need to get rid of Diggs and Murray and Steele. And Shoddy has to run the ball on short yardage downs, definitely when Javonte is running the ball. I thought they were pretty solid overall. Look, Javonte averaged 4.2 yards per carry. Wasn't crazy explosive, but overall was pretty solid. Hunter Luepke got one of the short yardage runs there. I think the biggest issue I had was they weren't great on third downs. They actually kind of struggled in that area. It says all of the short yardage stuff and everything else looks worse because of the final 3 drives. They went conservative. They went run pass early in the fourth quarter, up 31-16 after the Raiders had cut it from 31-9. And then they went 12 plays, 34 yards, 7 minutes and 43 seconds, which was just a hilarious drive, but ended on a drop pass on 4th and 1 after they couldn't convert it on 3rd and 2 with the run to Javonte. I don't think Steele was that bad, but he still might not be here next year. I don't think Diggs and Murray will be here. So that one, I think you're definitely going to get your wish. From Rock, what about signing Eddie Jackson? They aren't going to add Justin Simmons. I don't want to overreact to one game. I thought the safeties were fine. I thought Malik Hooker played pretty well in what kind of was a pitch count game. Marquise Bell had the right time, right place, tip drill, interception. That's cool for him. I don't even think Donovan Wilson was that big of a liability. The Raiders are bad. So again, let's not overreact to it. But Jackson, I think, tried out for the Steelers, I think it was. All these guys being unsigned in November makes it tricky. So name a player you want to sign. Any player in the open market, if there is one. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Brian Parson, can you imagine if Jerry had kept Micah and still pulled off the trade for Quinnen Williams? I know it wouldn't have happened, but it would be nasty. Be super cool. You could kind of make it work money-wise. I don't know what that would mean for other guys on your roster. Maybe they wouldn't have paid Daron Bland immediately. But again, the money's not an issue, so they could have found a way to do it if they really wanted to. I don't know if they would have kept. I don't know if the extra draft capital got them enough reason to do it. They might have been a bit more stingy there. Real G, would the ideal situation be Bears tank, win out in the NFC East? Yeah, I think like there's a bunch. You have to cheer against the Eagles. You have to cheer against some combination of the Lions, the Bears, the Packers, maybe even more so, which seems a bit unlikely, the Panthers, and the 49ers. Some of those schedules very much set up in favor of those other teams. That's why the playoff path is so challenging for Dallas. You had to beat Carolina. You really could have used that win over the Bears. It really put them in a pretty tough spot. From Tasmanian Devil, would you draft Jeremiah Love in round 1? It depends on where you're drafting. You know, this win, maybe you're definitely not going to be drafting top 5. I don't think, given your late season schedule, there's a pretty good chance you're not drafting top 10. Maybe you're not drafting 18 or 20 or something, but you're probably drafting no higher than what you did last year. I don't know if Jeremiah Love's going to be there. It kind of becomes the Bijan conversation where, look, he's going to be the best player on the board, but you'll probably still have some very glaring needs on defense. Can you justify spending that first-round pick on a very fun player who is going to be a top 5 guy on my board probably? It's the risk-reward. Like, Genti was awesome. He was everyone's top 5 player. Look how bad the Raiders are this year. Like, it's a luxury pick. It's a question of, do the Cowboys have the luxury to do it? Who is your dream Cowboys draft pick? It's the safety, because I just love safeties and I want one. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Anthony P., who I think is being a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, says, draft Carnell Tate with our first-round pick, Jeremiah Love with the Green Bay pick. I think you actually have to probably flip those, by the way. I think Love is not going to make it to that pick. Defense can give up 30, but we will average 50. Team 40 burger. So, sign 3 is in sign George Pickens, by the way, was the first note there, which it's funny. I like it. Defense needs help. Depending on where you're drafting, we'll see if there's a good player there. From Toxic Tom, why not trade the 2 firsts? Go get a proven NFL player, F them picks, let's really go for it. I guess you can't trade that Packers pick right now, actually, because there are conditions attached to it right now with the poison pill stuff that Adam Schefter mentioned. So you can't trade it, A, because of that, B, because the Cowboys also have conditions on their other first-round pick. So with the Quinnen trade, so you kind of can't move your ones right now. But these 2 ones you've got up right now, you could flip those. You know, the Cowboys were very praiseworthy, almost out of their way to praise Max Crosby. Did anyone else notice that? I noticed it. Of, hey, maybe something happens. I don't think that's going to happen, but that I did spot that. Granted, he's an awesome player, and like sometimes you just say the awesome player is awesome, but I did spot that. We've got free videos for you right here on the Cowboys Report. We are free. We always will be. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Steven, even though it looked better, I'm still worried about the secondary. Thoughts? I think this is perfectly reasonable, actually. Yeah, they were better. Caelen Carson, Daron Bland had one of his better games of the year. Caelen Carson, Shavon Revel, all looked pretty solid. Reddy Stewart was fine in the nickel. The Raiders have a really bad offense. Again, you broke up some passes. You did a good job. But, like, Trey Tucker had 4 catches for 47 yards and the 1 touchdown. Lockett was 3 for 33. Jack Bestrom 1 for 19. And Deontay Thornton ran a bunch of cardio. Like, they don't have real receivers right now. That's why Brock Bowers got 12 targets. And Michael Mayer got 4. And Ian Thomas got 1. They don't have the personnel. Real G, I'd kill for Gilmore. Yeah, he's old. However, he'd be a staple with the youth in the locker room, and he's still not terrible. I do find it weird that no one picked up Stephon Gilmore. At this point, it's late November. Kind of feel like no one's going to end up picking him up at this stage. Any super chat gets you a shout out on today's show. $5 raffle entry into whatever. I don't know what the raffle is going to be. I'll figure it out later this week. $10 gets you 3 raffle entries. $50 is a shot, and $100 is a beer bong. That is the super chat menu on today's show. I like Crimson Cowboys' comment, by the way, talking about when they pulled Smith on play action to kind of get him on Max Crosby. The Cowboys have done a similar-ish play. I don't think this is the exact play, but like they'll do the play action, and they'll kind of like have the guard or something like spin around. Like this has been a popular play in the NFL too. Like the center will do it and like spin back and kind of like take away the backside player. Smith kind of being a pivot off of that where he's able to get over there and help out Max Crosby. I think there was a clear, dedicated effort to like, okay, how do we try to survive against one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL? Crosby had several wins still. The strip sack was obviously one of them, but you get sacked one time against Max Crosby and you complete whatever percent of your passes, that's probably pretty good. But I do think like that type of like pulling and movement, that stuff works. And also you have more pulls and stuff in your actual run game. So it's not as obvious that something's up. Like in years past, like if the Cowboys were to do that boot action waggle stuff, like their run plays never look like that. It's still a little bit obvious sometimes, but they have done a better job marrying those things together. Brian, we're about the refs next week. They love Philly. The refs are just bad and they can't identify the tush push. My conspiracy theory, though, is that the NFL doesn't actually care if the refs continue to miss those obvious false starts, and they're almost like happy if they continue to miss them because the NFL wants the tush push out of the game. It is not a dangerous play. It is not dangerous. That is a false talking point from the NFL. But their new talking point this year has been, we just can't officiate it. But you can. I wonder if they're like, okay, and missing it on purpose so they can use it as an argument of, we can't officiate it properly. It has to go. That's my conspiracy theory on the NFL's grand plan. What's up, Aiden?
I feel pretty strongly about this, too. I don't think there's any way, shape, or form you could ban a play like this. I see some of the arguments about saying it's hard to officiate, and that's where I agree with Tom saying, no, I don't really think it is.
It's not. Just use your eyes.
Use your eyes. And then, I see both sides. Like, you see offensive linemen jumping or false starting. Okay, call the false start. What's the problem here? You see other teams trying to replicate it. Some can, some can't. The Ravens just did the fake with Mark Andrews. It looked
awesome play.
It was amazing. That was actually so cool. But, teams are allowed to try what other teams try. And Dan Campbell, I think, said it best. I might butcher the quote, but he's like, we can't knock a team for finding a niche and being good at it. Like, that. Imagine the spread offense 60 years ago would look like witchcraft to some people. And they'd be like, oh, ban this. We can't guard
the forward
5.
pass was illegal.
Yeah, we can't guard 5 good receivers at a time. How's this going to happen?
What do you mean they're throwing it 50 yards downfield? That's
exactly,
cheating. Yeah,
exactly.
It is a throwback style. It's short yardage. It's not drastically more significant than a regular sneak. That also works. The new trend has been that the tight end goes under center. It's fine. If you want to stop it, just have a rule. You can't push or pull the ball carrier. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
It's a good fix.
So, thank you, Brian. $2 super chat. Appreciate that, my friend. We had a debate in the office today over Quinnen Williams, specifically his number. Aiden here doesn't think 92 is a good number for Quinnen Williams. I will give you the floor to explain your wrong take, but 92 is perfectly fine for Quinnen Williams.
Listen, it's fine. It's fine. Fine is, you're right. That's the perfect word for it. It's just fine. But Quinnen Williams is not a fine player. He's an amazing player. He's a premier player that needs a premier number. You see the George Pickens of the world. He's 3. You see CeeDee. He's 88, but that's iconic for the Cowboys. Then you see all these skill players around the league, including D linemen now too. Now that it's allowed, they're going to single digits. I don't know the full roster and the full numbers, so forgive me for saying, 96, I know that's taken, or 95's taken, 97's taken, 99 you said was taken, but 92? 92?
You're just doing 90s. Kevin is right. If Reggie White can wear 92, Quinnen can wear 92. He's a defensive lineman. This is not 58 for a defensive lineman.
No.
This is not a bad number.
The Reggie White
Daniel thinks you're smoking. Lance agrees with you. I think 92 is a perfect number for a defensive lineman. That just works. I think yes, it is. I think yes, it works.
Not who Quinnen is.
Honestly, I think I don't think you can wear a single digit number as a 300+ pound player.
Oh, I think that's cap. I think
you got to be an edge.
I think if you put number 8 on Aaron Donald, it would strike fear.
99 is better.
You're right, but it would still strike fear.
Nah. 8 on Donald, no, I hate it.
That would look tough.
That's got to be a skill player.
I've done it on my Madden franchise.
See, you are ridiculous. No. 92 is a strong number for a defensive lineman.
Listen, I know it's taken. 95 would be the perfect number for him.
95 versus 92, like we're just changing the style of the number. It hardly even changes.
Listen, if you know,
we're just inverting. We're just inverting where the second part of the number goes.
Guys, if you know, you know. That's all I can say. It's just a visual.
Flipping the half C. Like
it doesn't change how good he is. He's amazing. It's just like, come on.
99 is 99, 95, 92, 98, 96. It's all the same.
I disagree.
It's all the same.
I disagree.
Like now, I feel like 76 would be horrible.
That would be horrible. I'm so glad he didn't do that.
They're all the same. You can't put 9 on
Cam
them.
Is right there. I think 98 would be perfect. Is anyone wearing 98 right now? I think 98 is perfect for a D tackle.
We're literally just finishing the circle of the 2s on each side. We're just drawing a line from the left to the right side. That's all we're doing.
And it looks better.
No, I think 92 is a good number for Quinnen Williams.
8 is not.
Now,
okay,
I want to have. I want to have Shavon Revel on 34.
No, yeah.
I don't like that one.
That's
not a good number. I want to have a conversation there. Get him in the low 20s.
Yeah.
Get him in the low 20s. 21 is the best cornerback number ever. But
really?
Yeah, that's prime time. But Caelen Carson has it right now. So like, get him out of the 34.
Wait.
Like,
how is anyone allowed to wear number 21?
he was only here for a couple of years.
Still.
They can't retire all of their good player numbers. They can't. There's too many.
Yeah.
They can't.
That's fair.
This isn't, the Titans where you have a couple numbers you can retire. That's how it goes. So is 92 a good number for the Cowboys or for Quinnen Williams? Y for yes, N for no. Some super chats we will get to here in a little bit, so stay tuned on that one. Aiden Cole says, you need to find a way to contain Hurts. His scrambling killed us last time. Absolutely correct. The scrambling was a significant issue. They have to be better on that front going forward. And I think, by the way, in particular, I think that the return of DeMarvion Overshown should help you in that area. Be a little bit weird if it didn't. I think that's like a spy role for him this week makes a ton of sense. Or even Shamar James is athletic enough to hang there too. King R, hot take, but there's nothing Lamb has over George Pickens, wide receiver 1. Is that an old one? Yes, it is an old one. It is an old one. Cowboy fan, $2, says, should have gotten number 11 to piss off Micah. Is Paris Campbell still wearing that number? Because Paris Campbell was wearing 11. Paris Campbell is 11 right now on the practice squad. Now, you can kind of duplicate practice squad numbers sometimes, like they could have done it if they wanted to, because originally Logan Wilson, 55, was worn by Justin Barron, who's now 45, so they kind of flipped the numbers there. But, I mean, I don't think 11 works on a defensive tackle. Like, it's like instead of wearing, like, stripes are thinning, like 11 is just, it's too thinning. Like, you need to be big. You need to be big. All right. Last call for your super chats, then we'll get into the final segment here on today's show. Some more good news keeps on rolling in for the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones sounding off on spending some money. Shavon Revel's debut, we'll discuss that. The cornerback performances as a whole. Some notable defensive back, safety, and linebacker rotations I want to get into. And we'll wrap up on Terence Steele's play with an impossibly tough matchup against Max Crosby, now in the books. Before we dive into that, we're talking good news. Let's be good to today's video. Hype the video. You love the Cowboys. Let's try out the new-ish feature here on YouTube. Hit the hype button. If you're on mobile, scroll down to the comments. You'll kind of see the little swipe option. Swipe to the right. You'll have the option to hype it. Free, simple, easy to do. And helps us out here on the Cowboys Report. So Jerry's spending. Let's discuss this here. Jerry spoke on Tuesday about paying George Pickens and Lamb and the defensive tackles and others. And he was specifically asked, can you afford to pay everyone? And instead of going into there's only so much pie, which they'll eventually come back to, I'm sure, his response was yes. Yes. And Jerry is telling the truth here. As we have discussed several times on the Cowboys Report, we've spent plenty of time talking about it, trying to educate the national talking head media doesn't know what they're talking about sometimes. It is extremely doable with their cap flexibility. They'll be able to restructure as planned so many guys and be able to afford those players. Now, they're not going to be as active in free agency if they keep, for example, Kenny Clark and Osa and Quinnen and pay Pickens, or even let one of those guys go and maybe one of your DTs. I would not be surprised if we get to the combine and they go, Quinnen was our free agent signing. I fully expect, given the history, for the Cowboys to lay that out there. I will also say, and you've seen some teams adopt this approach too, there is something resembling some logic. Because the salary cap keeps on going up at a pretty strong rate, it's almost to the point that the payment or the salary cap rise isn't quite being matched by the contract rise. And with more teams being willing to put money into the future, taking on the good dead money, not that many good players hit the open market. And I think you'll see that again this year. We'll do a top free agent 2026 list, and by the time we get to the first day of free agency, half of them are going to be gone. So there is some logic, but you do kind of lose points for it when you say that every year, even if you don't have players you want to pay. So as we sit right now, what is your trust level in the Dallas Cowboys front office? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, of course, the low end, 10 on the high end. Let's discuss one of the other debuts from this weekend's game, or this Monday's game. Shavon Revel, a solid debut as far as I'm concerned for the Dallas Cowboys. 19 snaps, all but one of them coming in coverage. Revel was good in this game. He did not really get beat all that much. 2 targets, the 1 catch, 4 yards, did commit the 1 penalty, but that was it for Revel. I thought he had a very quality performance overall. Jerry Jones said it's promising what his future can be. There was a couple times he actually even followed a tight end on the inside. I don't know how much they'll deploy that. Here's what Revel said about his debut. It felt great, man. My first time being out there in a year. A lot of people didn't expect me to play like that, but I know what I can do. The butterflies left in the locker room, they had a package for me, so I wasn't surprised to get in the game. Had to get my mind rep, just took a deep breath and got focused. It's very fast. At least this game, it was very fast for me. I haven't been out there in a year, just trying to dial in on the details and focus on those. I actually do appreciate Revel kind of being honest and up for, and like, yeah, it's fast for me. It should be fast for Shavon Revel. It would almost be a concern, or he was lying. He said it wasn't fast. Like, you're coming up from ECU. It's a significant jump on that front. We'll go more in depth here on the cornerback room in general, but I do hope the Cowboys continue to utilize Revel, especially in some of those obvious passing downs. Today's show is made possible by Ethos. As a father of 2 kids, it's not fun to think about what would happen if something happened to you, but you do need to be prepared. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. They're an online platform that makes life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. No medical exam is required. You just answer a few health questions and get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage for them. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times may vary, rates may vary. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Let's go back to the corners. We obviously mentioned Shavon Revel. I thought Caelen Carson and especially Daron Bland had solid efforts, admittedly, against a not very good group of Raiders pass catchers. I do want to preface that here. Carson did get picked on more than he did the previous game. 6 targets, 4 catches, 68 yards. Some of the tight end plays coming against him. Did break up 2 passes. 3 of those 6 targets went for first downs. It's actually a pretty solid ratio. But Daron Bland, I thought, was really good. Outside of the pick-6 game, probably his best game of the season. 9 targets against the Raiders, against running backs and tight ends and receivers, you name it. 4 catches, 34 yards, as many pass breakups as first downs allowed. You throw it a corner 9 times, and 2 times they allow a first down, you want to do like successful play rates, that's a successful play by your defense. This was the snap count, by the way, for the Cowboys corners. Caelen Carson actually played every single one of them. I think the final couple plays, the Cowboys sat Daron Bland briefly. Reddy Stewart played 22 in the nickel when they were like in less obvious passing downs. They kind of put Bland on the outside with Carson and Stewart at the nickel spot. And then Shavon Revel kicked outside for a bunch of the more obvious passing downs. Of note, 0 snaps from Kyer Elam, or for Kyer Elam. Triquez Bridges was a scratch. Elam did not get on the field at all on defense. I think that's right. I think your best options in passing downs, you can make an argument that on run downs, maybe you want to sit Revel and not, have the skinny guy be so involved in run support and play Stewart, who's very good against the nickel. I wouldn't be surprised if on early downs it ends up being Stewart at the nickel, Bland and Carson on the outside. But in passing downs, I think your 3 best options are Revel and Carson on the outside and let Daron Bland in the nickel, play in the nickel. I think that is your best bet. Now, I'm curious how much ramp up they'll give Revel. They'll probably increase it a little bit each game, depending on the matchups and stuff. But should they start him? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's discuss the linebackers here and the safeties. They had heavy rotations, a heavier amount of rotation than we are accustomed to. I think it was like 22 players played on defense against the Raiders. Only 1 played every single snap. They did rotate this. Let's start with the safeties here. Donovan Wilson played 48. Malik Hooker played 44. Marquise Bell was out there really more than I thought he was going to be. 27 snaps, had the interception. PFF did not grade him very high for that play because really Kenneth Murray made the play. Bell was just in the right spot at the right time. It was not a game in which I had to call out, there's Malik Hooker getting burnt. There's Donovan Wilson getting burnt deep downfield. It was very much a game. I thought that the safeties did a good job. The communication was sharp, and there weren't a lot of big plays allowed. Like Geno Smith on 20-plus yard throws was, look at my notes here, 1 of 4 with the pick. That's it. He had 1 over the middle. There was nothing on the outside. Really, like they did a very good, even go beyond 15. He hit like 3 of them. They were good. Cowboys were good downfield. Linebacker-wise, massive rotation. They did start Kenneth Murray, and maybe because of the way the game was going, they were trying to get Logan Wilson up to speed more. We'll see how it plays against Philadelphia. But Logan Wilson, 34 snaps in this game, then DeMarvion Overshown with 31, then Shamar James at 26, and then Kenneth Murray as well. I didn't have any major issues with the linebacker rotation. I would like less Kenneth Murray before, but he actually played well. I thought that was one of his better games of the season. Maybe your DTs were so good they made life easier on Kenneth Murray. Both players, in terms of Murray and Wilson, had the green dot. So they are kind of setting up, the rotation of Wilson and Overshown, James and Murray. Murray had the bigger splash play from a positive perspective, getting his hand up on that over-the-middle throw, tipping it into the waiting hands of Marquise Bell. Logan Wilson had the more obvious splash play from a negative perspective, where he doesn't move the same way Kenneth Murray does. He's a touch slow, a little bit slow to trigger, and kind of got caught in open space against Geno Smith and got beat. I don't think either guy was bad, though. There are different pros and cons. Wilson's not the same level of athlete he used to be. Kenneth Murray's instincts have issues still. Different issues if you play the Eagles when you play the Eagles next week of I don't really want Logan Wilson in space on Jalen Hurts, but I don't really want Kenneth Murray in play action looks against the Eagles. So it's give and take. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe they try to go heavy on Overshown and James, but it would require the green dot stuff to get figured out, and that seems to be the main issue for the Cowboys linebackers right now. Cowboys making changes. We'll do a video kind of breaking down what some of the confirmed ones were coming out of the game. Some of these were mentioned, the linebacker rotation, but there's some other stuff we haven't gotten into. So stay tuned for that. Cowboys have done some nice adjustments there. We'll have a video on it. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Finally, let's wrap up with Terence Steele. And look, the matchup for the most part against Max Crosby is tough. The Cowboys started Terence Steele over Nathan Thomas coming out of the bye week. They had a competition. They went with Terence Steele. Reporting was he's got the quick trigger available. And the end result was, I thought he played pretty well. He got beat a couple times. The strip sack actually wasn't his fault. They kind of did a very long delayed loop and they got lost. I think that was actually Tyler Smith's responsibility in the end. 1 hit, 3 hurries, much better run blocking game. The run blocking hasn't been as good this year for Terence Steele. If I can get great run blocking, as I feel like I did against the Raiders, again, they've got issues on defense, and I can live with, a handful of getting beat. I want to cut those pressure numbers down by 1 or 2. 1 or 2 fewer pressures, even though they didn't overly help Terence Steele against Max Crosby. I was kind of surprised by that. But overall, I thought Terence Steele, I don't know if he's going to be here next year, but I don't think they're going to make the switch to Nate Thomas, at least not yet. We'll see what next week brings. So the pin poll on today's show, grade the Cowboys against the Raiders, A, B, C, D, or F. 66% voting A, 31% voting B, 3% voting C, and 1% D or F. Let me know in the pin poll of today's show. Bryson, a $5 super chat, says re-sign/tag Pickens and Javonte Williams, double dip at pass rusher, draft safety, linebacker, running back. That should be the top off-season priorities in my opinion. I agree. I also think underrated double dipping at pass rusher is a key idea there. James Houston under contract next year. Ezeraku obviously under contract next year. That's it. Outside of like Isaiah Land futures deal. Now, maybe they try to bring back Clowney, whatever, but they do have to get, they're going to need more bodies next year too. Now, I like Houston as a situational pass rusher. He's almost replaced Dante Fowler in that role. It's kind of funny to see how that happens. Like Fowler is not actually playing that much for the Cowboys. In fact, Dante Fowler had 11 snaps last night. Now, they were all pass rush snaps. He had 3 pressures on them, which is, again, a really good ratio. But they kind of don't put him out there on rundowns. Like, they're putting out Ezeraku. They're putting out Clowney. They did give James Houston more run last night, which I do think was a promising sign. He was pretty heavily involved. He was actually second in snaps. Sorry, tied for second with Clowney. So there is, again, we'll talk the changes, the confirmed changes. Houston kind of surpassing everybody else is certainly one of them. I do think Pickens and Javonte returns, critical. Pass rusher, safety, linebacker, running back depth, maybe a corner, depending on how you feel about Carson and Revel moving forward. Let the year play out there. Maybe a right tackle as well. Logical LB, rate the secondary. Against the Raiders specifically, I thought they did a good job. Now, I will say it's the Raiders. And I am not going to anoint this defense as everything's fixed. It's kind of like how you kick the crap out of the Jets. I'm not going to go everything's fixed when that team can't throw the ball either. So I'd give them at least a B. I thought that they were solid. They actually did the bend but don't break stuff for like the first time all year. Like the Raiders did move the ball a little bit at times. Let me go through the drives. 4 plays, 22 yards, whatever. They had a 7-play, 47-yard drive that got them near the red zone. It was intercepted. They had a field goal drive that got them to the red zone, and they didn't get anything on that except the field goal. They held them to a field goal when they turned the ball over deep in their own territory. They had the 1 touchdown drive in the fourth quarter, and then after that, outside of that 14-play, 62-yard drive, the Raiders on offense after that, ignoring the kneel down, had -1 yard on their other 2 drives. So I do think the secondary, et cetera, were pretty critically impactful on that front. Let's get to the $10 super chat here from Kevin Hinkle. That's 3 entries, by the way. I keep on pulling up the Elements page on Chrome on accident. Says, I'm tired of the same old argument from non-Cowboys fans saying they haven't been relevant in 30 years. In reality, they have been one of the most relevant teams by multiple metrics. It's just not Super Bowls. But they are consistently in the playoff hunt. They are extremely relevant. People say that they're mediocrity. No, they're not. They're just good, and they're not great, and we all want them to be great. So, Kevin, I think you are spot on that one. Crimson Cowboy says, can you take my thermodynamics exam tomorrow? I mean, do you want me to fail? Do you want to fail? I don't know if I studied thermodynamics in high school. I'm sure I did in school, but I don't remember any of it. So no on that one. We will have another live show on Thursday, which we'll mention again here after Logical LB's. Another $2 super chat Who is your first pick if all players are available? I'm taking Arvell Reese. I think he has been awesome for Ohio State. Like, I think worst case you're getting, Jalen Walker, the guy for the Falcons, who I don't know if people have watched Falcons games because, like, why would you? They're bad. Like, they're not a good team. Michael Penix's hurt again. Jalen Walker's been really good for them. 4 sacks this year. He's been really good. He does some edge linebacker stuff. He's got a pass breakup, a couple forced fumbles. He's got 3 sacks in his last 3 games. He is a very good football player. I think Reese and Ezeraku, oh man, what a pairing. Not the biggest, but like Reese has the long arms too. Like, he's actually got longer arms than Micah. Ezeraku has been my big knock on Ezeraku was like, can he hold up against the run? Because he was really good at Boston College, but he was undersized. He wasn't very big. He has been not to like Tank Lawrence's level, but like actually kind of close to it. Like, he really hasn't been that far away from what Tank has been as an edge defender. Like, he's been great in run support. He has been everything you could have hoped for. Like, he's been consistent with the highest graded Cowboys players. So, thank you, Logical LB. Then run up is Caleb Downs, and then Ruben Bain. Cowboy fan, what teams need to lose this week for the playoffs? Great question. So, the games we're going to monitor, and I don't think we're going to do this as an option, but we'll eventually get to the playoff picture if we require it. Vikings-Packers, I think we're actually going to cheer for the Vikings in that game. Yes, they're kind of on the playoff fringes, but you got to win a bunch of games and you still play them, and you're ahead of them. So go Vikings over the Packers. Giants over the Lions would help us from a wild card race perspective. Steelers over the Bears, because you kind of need the Bears to collapse or just run away with the NFC North. But for now, we'll say go Steelers. Let's see. That game doesn't matter. Obviously, Cowboys over the Eagles. Saints-Falcons doesn't really matter, frankly. Kind of a non-impact game. Bucks-Rams is very interesting, where I think you're probably just going to cheer for the Rams because they're kind of away with it already. There's like no real change there. Panthers, 49ers. I think we actually want the Panthers to win that game because the Niners are ahead, so we want the Niners to fall out a little bit. So the big ones, Giants over the Lions, that's a 7% swing. Panthers, Niners is a 4% swing. Steelers, Bears, and Vikings, Packers are 3 to 4% swings. Those are the ones you're cheering for to make the postseason. Giants in particular could really help you out if they could pick up a win there. Logan Etker, however you pronounce it there, Logan is next up. We'll get to that super chat. Thank you, Logan. Will the Cowboys extend Pickens and Williams? Probably. Pickens might get franchise tagged, but I think both guys are back with the Cowboys next year. I think both guys, I doubt Pickens hits the open market, so it's a moot point. I think Javonte goes, I had success here. I don't want to leave. And the running back market isn't crazy anyway, so I think you'll be okay there. Appreciate that, Logan. We will sign off here on today's show. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. We'll be back live again on Thursday, so do not miss out. Hit that sub button. We'll have a live show on Thursday and videos throughout the week as well.